And I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you guys about the power of shifting our frame of mind and our focus. And I've been talking about how my physical injury, right, put a halt to my routine and a schedule that I had become so accustomed to, automatic, whatever word you want to use there. A lot of the times, the rituals, the things that we go through in our lives, and disciplines are good, right? Getting up and working out or walking and whatever it is. But when those things are interrupted, it can wreak havoc and turmoil on our mental frame of mind, right? Because again, we're so used to having these things set out before us, and our brain, again, we don't have to think about doing these things. It's just a matter of automatic action. So, in my journey, I've referenced Dr. Joe Dispenza to you guys, and the deeper I go into understanding the power that our thoughts have, the more extraordinary I realize how tied into not only science, but the realm of the supernatural, the spiritual is in the alignment that our bodies have with our minds. And I believe we were created to operate in a level of synchronicity and unison where all of these areas, spirit, soul, and body, are working together. They're so fine-tuned that we become this optimal human being, this version of ourselves that has a limitless, untapped potential. And so we talk about in PPA tapping into the potential that's resident within us, right? And there's a lot of elements of the success we may be seeking or the growth we may be wanting as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as licensed agents. But regardless of what that is, it's all tied into how we think and what we believe about ourselves and what we believe about others. My post from today said this: our personality is made up of how we think, how we act, and how we feel. Those three elements make up our personality. What if we chose to start thinking and acting differently? Would that change our emotional state of mind? Wouldn't that in turn help us create a more positive personality? You better believe it. We build our realities around how we act, think, and feel. Let me say that one more time. We build our reality, we frame our world around how we act, think, and feel. So I know that for me personally, over these recent weeks, there's been more of a roller coaster because of my state, right? I am a relatively optimistic and positive person, but I think the added stress and the strain of hosting multiple family members, navigating a bunch of children who were eating far too much junk food than normal, staying up far too late, and running circles around us tends to add to the stress and strain mentally and emotionally as well as physically. So I recognize where I didn't do my best at times to do what I knew I could be doing and to be cognizant of what kind of thoughts were entering my mind. Again, it's extraordinary to think about this in light of our personality, and we go, oh, well, this is just who I am. Caleb, this is who I am because of the way I was raised, because what I was led to believe, because of the circumstances I went through, because of my divorce or the abandonment or the things, the betrayal, the things that happened in my life. But so often I think that's I don't know if a cop out is the right word, but it's a bit of a justification to say this is just the way that I am. But in all reality, our personality is composed of how we think, how we act, and how we feel. So if we start changing our thoughts and actions, there's going to be an immediate emotional response as well. And so to recognize that we can actually change our personality and become a totally different version of ourselves. Again, just like the discipline that creates habits that, transform our life from working out, from exercising to eating healthy, that doesn't happen overnight. But I'm noticing that it can happen relatively quickly if we're cognizantly aware of the thoughts that we are entering our mind, and we choose to shift them and be in that present moment. And so much of our lives and our thoughts dictate what's happened in the past or what we're trying to create in the future. And as a result, what happens? We're not living in the present moment. And so it gives me chills and goosebumps, and almost at times brings me to tears, because as a visionary, and many of us here are that, we are often thinking about the things that we need to do to build the greater vision, to fulfill our mission and purpose, to create the community that we want with PPA. And all of those things are good. But how often does it stop us from living in the present moment? And so, just like those automatic habits because of our thoughts create our rituals, in the same way, if we're willing to be present in that moment, letting go of the past, letting go of the future, we open up the door to the realm of the unknown, where anything can happen, any possibility can take place, a new experience, a new opportunity, a new relational alignment can take place in our lives. And that is an incredibly exciting place if we're willing to let go of our identity, of our personality, and say, okay, this was the way that I associated myself, or this is who I think I am when I look in the mirror, who people think maybe that I am based on my experiences. But to know that we can change that, and that we can open up a gateway to unlimited realms of possibility and new experiences, is extraordinary. So things like, again, just being aware of that, right? Being conscious when any thought comes that is a distraction to living in that present moment, and understanding what that thought, the emotion that that thought created, will quickly exercise a habit in us to take charge, right? And take control back of who we want to become. And so I'm excited because I'm recognizing again that I told you guys, these things that happen in our lives, it's very easy to respond in a negative light. And I did initially, right? Self pity, screw this. This is a bunch of crap. This shouldn't have happened to me. This timing was bad. Woe is me. Poor Caleb, blah, 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 blah. Instead of recognizing that everything happens in our lives for a reason and a purpose. And within this tragedy was an opportunity for me to stop, create some introspection, and recognize that God and universe were trying to show me something, were trying to slow me down, to give me the opportunity to reframe and become not just a better, but maybe an entirely different version of myself than I've ever been. And is it hard at times for us to let go of who we are? Do we get comfortable in our own skin? I know I do. There's some pride, some ego maybe in who I've become, not necessarily bad, right? But proud of how far I've come, especially from, where I've come from and where I've been. But at the same time, that's not who I am. Those past experiences help shape and make me who I am today, but that doesn't have to forever remain my identity. Those challenges, those adversities, those what help bring me to where I am today, even to this moment right here, right now, where I'm recognizing that I am becoming a different version of Caleb. That 3 weeks ago, I was not the same person. It's a little intimidating. It's a little bit scary. And maybe you guys can recognize it. Maybe you can't. We'll, of course, open it up here for some thoughts and comments shortly. But I'm learning to embrace that. I'm learning to let go of who I once was to become whatever version of myself that I need to be. And it's a very vulnerable place. And not only do we want to make everyone here and everyone who's going to come into PPA, feel safe, we want them to understand that vulnerability is okay, right? It's not going to be a psychotherapy analysis. It's not going to be us, trying to figure out your lives, but it is going to be a place where you can feel comfortable being in the unknown, because the unknown is where opportunity awaits us. The unknown is where anything and everything can happen. Um, and nothing that we've experienced in the past may be the same for us ever again in our lives. Again, we're just often one moment away, one opportunity away from absolute life transformation, not just because of circumstances, right? But because of choice. And so when we choose to say, okay, I'm going to live in the present moment, I'm going to let go of everything that I've known, all that familiar territory, we open ourselves up literally to infinite possibilities. Um, Hopefully that doesn't sound overly heavy for you guys. It's exciting for me again to recognize that a lot of things are shifting. My priorities that I thought I had are changing. Again, these situations help us recognize, right? Because we get so still and we stop moving often for long enough to go, okay, this is what matters. I thought this mattered in my life, but really, often what we think matters, I think some of you saw this post from the other day, we start to realize it doesn't really matter in our lives. The little things that we thought mattered aren't going to be so insignificant. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, the struggles, the challenges, the adversities, the problems that we have are going to look incredibly insignificant, and we're going to forget about them in no time. So, that said, hope that wasn't too heavy to get you guys started, but how does that make you feel? Do you feel a level of discomfort uh, with the prospect of letting go of your personality and that person that you once were? Do you feel a level of excitement? And there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to hear how it makes you guys feel and what you think it looks like for you to step into that place and let go of that version of who you once were.